Hi everyone, my name is David Porras. I'm the head of content of Mathigon and a middle school math teacher in the United States. And I'm excited to give you a tour of Mathigon. Mathigon is the textbook of the future, interactive, personalized, and free. I'm going to show you some of the features available on Mathigon. I'm going to start at courses here, and I'm going to go to the course Spheres, Cones, and Cylinders just to share with you some of the features on these courses. So you can see here in this course, it starts with a cylinder, cone, and sphere. And when I click on a word, a glossary definition of that comes up. I also have the ability to
notice how the definition of a sphere is almost the same as the definition of a blank, except in 3 dimensions.
So students can have the text read to them as well. And there's a blank that I have to fill in. The definition of a sphere, I'm going to move myself up here, is the same as the definition of a circle. And I get a little feedback in the bottom from the tutor. Then I'm going to go on and think about cylinders. I could read all this. How much of the natural gas can be stored? That's the volume of it. How much steel is needed? Maybe I think that's the circumference. I get a message down here saying, oh, I should try again. In fact, it is the surface area. And then what I want to share with you is there's a lot of the courses on Mathigon have these interactive elements for students. We can approximate a cylinder using a 5-sided prism. But then as the number of sides increases and students can drag this slider to increase the number of sides on the prism all the way up to 20. And so they can see that as you increase the number of sides, the prism becomes closer and closer to a cylinder. In these courses, the more questions that are answered, more text comes up on the screen. All right, so I'm going to stop here. There's all sorts of courses available for students. Any course that has the tools next to it means the course is in development. We're working hard behind the scenes to get more courses out there. I now want to share with you some examples of our PolyPad. PolyPad is virtual manipulatives for students. There are geometry tools. You can put polygons on the canvas. I'll zoom in a little bit. You can spin them around and change the color. The polygons have a smart snapping feature and a rotation feature, so I can put them together. When you click on something in PolyPad, there are options that come up at the bottom of the screen. So one of the options is to cut. So I could cut this into 2 pieces. There's a custom polygon where I can move the vertices around and add a vertex by clicking here. There are tangrams and tetrominoes and pentominoes in the geometry section. The list goes on. There's numbers that I can put on the canvas. Here's a block of 20. I can merge the tiles together to make an array of 20, and I move this handle. I see different options. There's number bars and a number line. These prime factor circles, I can put a number on the canvas and pull it apart into its prime factors. There's a multiplication grid, fractions, algebra tiles, a balance scale, coordinate axes, probability tools. This is the super fast overview. But what I do want to share with you under library, here are my saved polypads. You have to make an account to save polypads, but accounts are free. You can use these tools even if you don't have an account. But all the way at the bottom, I'm going to click on lesson plans, and it's going to bring me to a task page. And one of the options here is tutorials. So I'm going to uncheck all of these except tutorials. And here's a link to 2 videos where I go into detail about how to use the tools on PolyPad. So if you're interested in that, I encourage you to go check it out. There are puzzles and games for students on PolyPad. There are all sorts of teaching ideas that you could go check out. And there are student explorations as well. All right, so all sorts of great mathematical fun to be had on PolyPad. I want to share with you some of the other activities on Mathigon. So there's a timeline of mathematics that shows some of the history of mathematics that students can scroll back and forth, and any of these are clickable. So here's a bio card of a mathematician, and if I scroll all the way, you can see all sorts of wonderful mathematical objects all the way back to the Shango bone. So this would be great fun for students to explore. I'm going to go back to activities and show you the almanac of interesting numbers. Here we have facts about all sorts of numbers that students could scroll back and forth on to learn about numbers. They could put a number into the search bar and it would bring them to that number. So that is wonderful for students to explore. There are problems and puzzles for students, a whole set of problems and puzzles over the years to explore. Each year is a puzzle calendar for the month of December, so students can have a great time with that. I'm going to go back to just the main site on Mathigon, and I want to share with you, all the way at the bottom is information on the mobile apps. So we have mobile apps available. As you can see here, they run on all major platforms and devices. They work offline, and just like the rest of Mathigon, are completely free to use. Right? So all sorts of wonderful mathematics to be explored on Mathigon. I hope this gave you an idea of some of the tools that are available, and thanks for watching.